Tonight, when you sit down to eat dinner, a metal fork or spoon will be waiting on the table. You reach for these tools without thinking twice. But for the vast majority of human history, these metal objects did not exist. For thousands of generations, our ancestors ate directly with their hands, and every community developed a highly specific tactile relationship with their food. In the late 19th century, at the Carlisle Indian Industrial School in Pennsylvania, a young student named Zitkala Sa sat at a dining table governed by a sequence of loud bells. First came a bell to pull out chairs, followed by a second bell to sit, a third to pick up cutlery, and a final bell to begin eating. Zitkala Sa missed a step in this sequence, and teachers singled her out, leaving her crying at the table. The school operated under a direct mission to assimilate Native American children by cutting their hair, replacing their clothes, and banning their native languages. School administrators viewed the forced use of silverware as an act of charity to prepare these children for modern life. Decades later, under the Navajo Special Program, government officials removed children to distant schools where they had to use silverware for the first time. The school barracks were crowded, and students frequently shared unwashed cutlery, which contributed to the spread of tuberculosis. The system prioritized the visible performance over the actual survival of the children. Before the 16th century, dining across Europe was a highly communal event where lords and servants sat together, sharing large wooden plates and eating with their fingers. In 1530, the scholar Erasmus published the first mass-distributed manual that framed table conduct as a direct reflection of moral character. Erasmus used animal terms to shame natural human behaviors, writing that grabbing food immediately resembled the behavior of wolves and noisy chewing resembled the sounds of pigs. As the rising middle class adopted these rules to elevate their status, the aristocracy responded by making the rituals increasingly complex. They introduced specialized silver cutlery, arranged in precise patterns to test social literacy. By the 19th century, this surveillance governed the household, requiring servants to perform their duties in total silence, while the family performed respectability with silver. This system of social division was eventually exported across the globe. In the late 20th century, a 4-year-old child named Techi Nimi was sent to an elite boarding school in India. School matrons trained her to eat in absolute silence, telling her not to eat like a wild person. When she returned to her tribal village for holidays, she looked at her family with judgment. She mocked her father for chewing loudly, even though her community celebrated those sounds as a sign of appreciation for the cook. This struggle persists today for immigrants entering Western corporate spaces. Workplace guides for South Asian professionals in the United States advise them that hand eating must be restricted strictly to the fingertips to avoid looking unprofessional. In European offices, immigrants describe feeling intense anxiety when trying to consume traditional rice and curry with a fork to avoid social exclusion. The office culture maintains a double standard where eating a sandwich with hands is acceptable, but touching a plate of salad with hands triggers disapproval. Perhaps you have watched someone eat with their fingers in a public space and felt a flash of disgust. Why does the simple act of touching food still carry a threat of social banishment? During a New York City mayoral campaign, a video of Zoran Mamdani showed him eating a plate of biryani with his fingers. The public response from political figures exposed the deep biases that link utensil use to civilizational achievement. One response on social media said that civilized people in America do not eat in this manner, and an opposing campaign posted an ad featuring footage of Mamdani eating with his hands, spliced alongside footage of retail shoplifters. This connection between dining habits and survival is not always simple. During the Meiji Restoration, Japan leaders voluntarily adopted Western dining etiquette. In 1873, the state officially adopted French cuisine and Western table protocols for diplomatic banquets to show Western nations that Japan was an equal partner. At these official banquets, guests navigated these expectations with intense effort. A samurai wrapped his leftover food inside his napkin to package it like a traditional wrapping cloth, while a nearby guest drank a bottle of eau de cologne, believing it was French wine. These elites chose to adopt these protocols to protect their sovereign power. At the same time, inside Japanese Soto-Zen monasteries, the ritual of oryoki enforces a highly precise, silent dining ceremony where monks sit in a kneeling posture and choreograph every single movement. This discipline focuses on fostering mindfulness and ensuring no food is wasted, completely bypassing the social exclusion found in other codes of conduct. This leaves us with a difficult question. When we see people voluntarily restricting their bodies at the table, we do not know if we are witnessing a shield for national sovereignty, a path towards spiritual awareness, or a willing submission to social control. Science shows that the physical act of touching food is deeply connected to how the human body functions. Tactile contact with food activates immediate sensory feedback loops in the brain, priming the stomach for digestion and enhancing satiety. Tasting is a continuous process that begins the moment fingers touch a plate. When a metal implement is placed between the hand and the food, this evolutionary pathway is disrupted, reducing the tactile sensory input to zero. Traditional cultures celebrate this tactile connection as a highly sophisticated art. Traditional Indian dining uses precise hand positions where all 5 fingertips come together to scoop rice. At Ethiopian restaurants, using fermented bread to scoop food requires physical presence and spatial awareness, allowing the hand to serve as a natural portion control mechanism. By contrast, rigid table rules interfere with interoception, which is the nervous system capacity to sense internal physiological signals like hunger and fullness. When a child is raised under punitive table rules, they learn to prioritize external social performance over internal biological needs, a cognitive load that disrupts the brain's ability to map gaps. When you finally put down the metal tools and touch food directly, the warmth of the rice or the texture of the bread connects the body to an evolutionary intelligence that predates the silver factory. Touching the food directly allows the fingers to register the temperature and density before the meal even reaches the mouth. The simple act of eating with the hands ceases to be a marker of class or culture, becoming instead a quiet, physical return to the body.